Auto insurance can often be confusing, so that's why Craig Swap is here to talk about why having the right coverage is essential, from protecting yourself and your vehicle to understanding what your policy really covers. Craig is here to break it down. So great to have you.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and first and foremost, thank you, because this can be, as mentioned, a confusing topic for some people. So let's talk about auto insurance. Why do I need it?
Well, auto insurance is designed to protect you from damages that you may cause, generally when you're talking about auto insurance. So if you run into a house or you run into a person, whatever damage is caused, your insurance would typically cover that. If you don't have insurance, then you've got to cover that out of your personal resources.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest reason, is to protect what you have.
Yeah, it protects you from those large out-of-pocket ticket items, if you will. Okay, how does one know, though, how much insurance they actually need?
Well, you got to understand, in Idaho, the state law is that 25 is the minimum. 25/50, which is 25 per individual or 50 per incident, meaning that whatever you caused, either more than one person in it, it's got to cover the whole deal. But that rarely covers everything that you need. So what I recommend, and again, I'm not an insurance agent, but just having seen thousands of these accidents over the years, to have at least 300 policy, 100 per individual, 300 per incident. That way, that covers 99% of the cases that I've seen over my career.
Okay. What is uninsured motorist coverage, and why should people be looking at that?
Well, uninsured motorist coverage steps in if you're hit by someone that doesn't have insurance. And studies show that about a third of the drivers out there are uninsured. So if someone hits you and they don't have insurance, you don't have any recourse against them unless you could go after them to collect it. But usually if they don't have insurance, they probably don't have resources. So uninsured motorist coverage allows you pay for it, and then it steps into the shoes of the person that hit you and takes care of whatever you need.
Helps take care of the cost of the recovery of your vehicle.
So there, and on property damage, there's direct property insurance and there's uninsured property insurance.
Okay.
So you got to ask your agent which you want to have both if you've got a vehicle that you need to replace. But yeah, it's really important to understand that uninsured motorists is to cover those situations when you're hurt or injured or something's damaged by somebody that doesn't have insurance. So underinsured motorist coverage is something that you buy. It's a first-party insurance, and you can put it in whatever amounts, whether it's 100, 500, a million. That steps in when the liability insurance isn't enough. Idaho has some funky laws about stacking these underinsured policies, but I think if you make it clear with your agent that that's your intent, you want to make sure you buy a policy that allows to be stacked on top of whatever liability coverage is there in the event you need it.
Okay, this is all good for us to know how to navigate. So when we're in a situation of a time of need, we'll make sure that we are covered properly and we're not found in a difficult financial or a binding financial situation.
Exactly. You don't always want to buy the cheapest. You want to make sure you know what you have.
Yeah, and that what you're paying for is worth it.
Absolutely.
You'd mentioned injury, medical payment coverage. Why, when you're thinking about automobile coverage, should you be thinking about medical payment coverage?
Well, because what happens in an accident, you get in an accident, you're hurt, you have an immediate need for medical treatment. Well, who pays for that? Well, that's where the medical pay coverage comes in. It'll pay it regardless of fault. So if you need it from that type of accident, it's there for you. You don't have to wait until you resolve it with the adverse carrier.
Okay. And Greg, I have to ask you, though, what are the consequences, though, if somebody lets their insurance coverage lapse, or perhaps they cancel it and they go, you know what, I don't need this, I'm fine?
The biggest challenge is that you put at risk anything that you own. And if you do cause an accident, you don't have insurance, then whoever it is that was hurt, they can actually come after you personally, garnish your wages, make life difficult for you. It doesn't happen a lot, but that's the risk you run if you don't have coverage to handle something that you caused.
Yes, and Craig, I want to point out to those watching that we're talking about this from an angle of a legal perspective, right?
Right.
You're not an insurance agent. You're not telling people to go out and
Right.
buy your policies or get other policies.
Right.
You're advising, helping people know what they need to make sure that they're protected in the situation they find themselves in a vehicle accident or in trying to avoid that big financial burden.
Right, that's the whole thing, is you got to protect yourself from those catastrophic things, and that's what insurance can do for us.
Craig, thank you so much. Where do people go so they can learn more about Craig Swap?
Well, probably the easiest way is to our website, craigswap.com, and that just taps you right into our website and gives you all the information you need to know about us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate your insight and time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.